This game had to hit me with the shot of all of the boys smiling at me, and I was like, ah, why? Ah, fuck you, game. Ugh. Before we knew it, it was 1869. Life in Ezo was fulfilling but tiring, and we had survived another harsh, freezing winter. On one particular evening, Iba, I brought some tea for you.
空いてますよ。どうぞ。
Traditional doors slid horizontally, but I was still growing used to these new Western doors that required knocking to gain entry. If you're polite, you will knock to get entry. If not, you will just burst into the room by opening the door. My mother still has not learned this. As with all things, though, it will come with time. Here you go. It's still steaming, so please be careful not to burn your lips.
ありがとうございます。
Iba immediately grabbed a hold of the tea I'd given him and brought the cup to his lips. There was something fetching about how he held the cup in his hands. Iba's upbringing was well represented by his regal demeanor, and I couldn't help but blush.
千鶴ちゃん、どうしたんです？僕の顔に何かついていますか？
Oh, no, not at all. I hastily averted my eyes to the window from embarrassment. Everywhere you look outside, it's white and plush. I mean, I'd heard stories about how far north Ezo was, but I never knew one place could produce this much snow. I never knew one place could produce this much snow. It's truly a sight to behold. If Nagakura, Haraga, and Heisuke were here, they would be outside, caked in snow, throwing snowballs at one another with childlike abandon. Yeah, they would! Ah! They would. They absolutely would. I found myself chuckling at the humorous thought as my eyes watched the flakes float downward. I heard Iba rest his teacup upon the table.
千鶴ちゃん、
What is it?
さっきトシさんたちとも話したんですが、おそらく春になれば新政府軍が本格的に攻勢を仕掛けてくるでしょう。そうなればこの五稜郭は長くは持たないはずです。
I spent the whole of winter in idle bliss beside Iba, one I hadn't felt since our days in Kyo. A naive part of me believed that we could neglect the concerns of the outside world and live that way forever. But the war was far from over. Peace was an oasis in a massive arid desert.
武田さんもおそらくその機に乗じてこの蝦夷地へとやってくるでしょう。あなたを手に入れるために、その野望をくじくため、次こそ彼を倒さなくてはなりません。
Right. Swagger bellowed from Iba's stern voice, almost as if he were convincing me to fight Takeda myself. Unlike Iba, Takeda had given in to the voices inside of his head, enough to fall into depravity by butchering innocent people to drink their blood. Allowing him to indulge in these egregious crimes was something neither of us could continue doing. Just then. And it's time for round 4. Iba winced in pain, suddenly reaching his hands to his throat. His cup of tea shattered against the floor. Now the floor is used correctly. Iba? Bloodlust has struck him once more. Do you want blood? As if silently affirming my question, his hair began turning stark white, and I gasped from panic. I had to give him blood. Iba, here, take my blood. I unsheathed my kodachi to make a small incision when...
僕にさせてください。
What?
お願いします。
I couldn't bear to deny him, especially as he grimaced in total agony in front of me. I handed him the kodachi and faced my back to him. Then, the icy edge of the kodachi rested beside my neck, and as he cut a tiny sliver, I felt a dull sting akin to a pinched nerve. I took a deep breath to steady myself. Then his tender lips wrapped around my cut. I had to halt the urge to laugh as his tongue flickered droplets of blood as it tickled me.
あなたを傷つけてまで血など欲しくないと思っていましたが、今は思います。こうして血をすする相手が他の人ではなくあなたでよかったと。
I nodded, very slightly in agreement. There was a keen pleasure to be taken in being Iba's sole proprietor of blood, and as long as he had use of me, I was his for the taking. Well, round 4 is done. April 1869. As Iba mentioned, the thick sheets of snow soon melted in Ezo, and we received word that the Imperial Army's navy reached Miyako Bay. The Shinsengumi men planned a heroic siege to take out the enemy's ships, but... Oh, they're back! Ichikata-san, Soma, and Nomura were the ones who were sent off on the daring mission, but... my warm welcome failed before it could begin. All of them stepped onto the deck with troubled, grave expressions, and my stomach turned.
失敗だったんですか。
ああ、しかもそれだけじゃなく、大使まで犠牲にしちまった。
What? Ichikata-san's declaration caused my heart to skip. Suddenly, the world began to spin in front of me. As badly as I wanted to ask who had died, the truth terrified me, so I had to push through.
一体誰が。15人が亡くなりました。野村は敵艦に乗り移ったのですが、撤退するときに敵の銃で撃たれて。
The other good boy is gone! It hurts every time. Nomura? Nomura was a lively and curious soul who lit up the room with every interaction, and I felt devastated taking in the news of his loss.
これから先も似たようなことは何度も起きるだろう。逃げるんなら今のうちだぞ。
いいえ、最後まで見届けます。本物の武士の生き様を。ですよね、千鶴ちゃん。
はい。Although I had steeled my heart long before Iba or myself set foot in Ezo, I couldn't help but wonder if it was a mistake. I quickly disregarded those thoughts, realizing that being absent during the final moments would have been just as soul-crushing, if not more so. We have reached May. May 1869. Iba's prediction came true, and the Imperial Army stormed through the beaches of Ezo to topple any remaining shogunate forces in the region. Iba, as commanded by Sen, was prohibited from participating in the middle of the fray, but thanks to Hijikata-san's prodding, Iba was assigned to medical duties along with me, as we attempted to cart and carry any casualties we could find through the battlefield's bloody haze. Hang in there! We're almost as Hakuoki.
逃がすと思うか。
From afar, an Imperial rifleman barked out to us, aiming the barrel of his rifle towards our position.
千鶴ちゃん、危ない!
Moments before I saw the spark from the rifle's lock slam down into the breach, Iba leapt in front of me. And then, the rifle went off, and the blast of gunfire echoed around us. Iba had unsheathed his sword faster than I could conceivably blink and reopen my eyes. By the time I had opened my eyes, I heard a pair of clinks from pieces of metal dropping through the ground, showing two bullet halves at Iba's feet.
銃弾を切り落としただと。奴は何者だ。
千鶴ちゃん、今のうちに。
Okay, here, let's go. I wrapped the wounded soldier's arms around my shoulders and sprinted us towards Hakuoki. By the time we had gotten to treating all of the injured men, the hour had passed midnight.
千鶴ちゃん、大丈夫ですか？少し休んだ方がいいのでは？
No, don't worry about me. I'm okay. It's the rest of the men we need to worry about. I thought I was prepared, but they just keep coming. Minor bandaging or the application of slings took care of most of the injured soldiers, but for those with severe lacerations or dismembered limbs, we were ordered essentially to offer comfort in their final moments, which was a depressing task.
5月になれば新政府軍はこの五稜郭まで攻め込んでくるでしょう。
I was certain that both Iba and the Shinsengumi had given much thought to the notion that their deaths loomed just over the horizon. But the question of what compelled them to fight in the face of a towering foe floated in my mind. If I were an outsider to their organization, I would have thought it foolish, suicidal even. But now, I think I was beginning to understand. To tell you the truth, I've been wondering for years why men fought unwinnable wars. Some time ago, you attributed doing so to your duty as an agent of the Shogun, right?
はい。以前、おせんさんの前で話しましたね。確かに、抵抗せず敵に下れば、家の安泰や身の安全は守られるのかもしれませんが、そうなれば彼らの行いを正しいと認めてしまうことになりますから。最後まで将軍公や幕府を守るために戦っていた侍がいる。その事実があれば後世の人たちが歴史を見る目も変わるはずです。新選組の皆さん方はそのために戦ってくれているのでしょう。僕たち幕臣よりも侍らしく。
Iba's voice trailed off as he waxed poetic about the plight of the Shinsengumi. Admiration dripped from his muttering voice. Admiration dripped from his muttering voice. As the glimmer in Iba's eyes lit the room, I felt the urge to ask him a difficult question. It was... You want to fight alongside them? If you could, would you want to fight alongside them? If I had never crossed paths with Iba, he wouldn't be burdened by his promise to Sen, and likely could have changed the fate of the war with the swing of his sword. We have already seen that, though. It wasn't pretty. But Iba's eyes thinned, and he heaved a tiny sigh.
その気持ちが全くないと言えば嘘になりますけど、進むべき道を決めた今は迷いはありません。あなたを守り、武田さんを倒すことが僕にとっての誠ですから。
I felt safe in the sincerity of Iba's promise. Butterflies flew in my stomach, and he shared a kind smile with me, as if he could read my thoughts.